All right, everybody. Welcome to another edition of a Late Tonight on Chain. I am your friend, your host, your confidant, Bill the Bull, back at it. One more day of this show per week. We do a Monday through Thursday, and on Fridays, we don't do it. Why? Because they don't pay me enough. They don't pay me enough. But if, FOMO, if you're listening, FOMO wallets, if you want to, if you want to just throw like six figures my way, I will stream every fucking day, bro. So yes, but I do not have those type of sponsors yet. One day, manifesting that, bro. One day we are going to manifest that. But until then, Monday through Thursday. And yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So, anyways, stoked about this one. Today's only guest day will be Noto from HOOKR. And man, if you guys haven't been watching Pumpamentals, it's finally getting a lot of love and attention. And it's I think he was on MCG yesterday. Dom was really pushing it as well, and he has some very high praise. Guys in the trenches have been talking about this for a while. So we're going to really talk about Uniswap V4, why this is a game changer, why people should care. But it's super cool to have him on. So we're going to talk about that. Especially it's good timing too, because ETH has just gone. Last I checked, it was like 2,300 or something, which is crazy. That's a crazy pump for ETH, man. That is absolutely wild. So talk about that. Won't bore you too much. Obviously, this episode is brought to you by EZA. Shout out to EZA, the Kickstarter family out in Solana. I think they're also now doing Robinhood. If you're a tech builder and you want to build on Solana, check out EZA. They, the Kwok brothers, have built something really good. Granted, some of their top projects is kind of went haywire, but that's their fault. It's got to make sure good devs are hard to find. So if you're a good dev, check out EZA. Three more shout outs supporting sponsors. We got Banker. Most people know Banker, agentic tooling on Base. They provide the infra for AI agents to operate autonomously. They also dabble with launches or pairing stock tokens on Base as well, but also on Robinhood. And they have both ecosystems going on. One of the liquidity providers, I believe, for sushi and the pools. So check out Banker. Shout out to them. Love them all. Two more. Buildify. Buildify is a liquidity, or it's basically a launchpad multi-chain, and their goal is to provide the best and easiest way for people to launch their products. I got respect for them. It's a very difficult industry to tap. Everyone wants to be, the launchpad. These guys have no token. They just have a dream and a vision, and I respect that. So check out Buildify if you're on ETH, Base, or Robinhood. And last but not least, DTF Finance. They are liquidity providers. They understand the game where everything's going to be tokenized. Stocks are coming on chain. But you can't just rely on volume. What happens is you take a portion, put it into liquidity pools, provide liquidity for these stock tokens, and build a treasury that way. They're doing something unique. So check out DTF Finance as well. All right, enough about all that. Let's just get right into it. The one, the only Notar from the great project called HOOKR, which I am sometimes ashamed to say in front of my mom, my wife. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey man, thanks for having me. Thank you.
All right, man. Listen, talk of the town today, especially. Obviously, we don't care too much about charts or stuff. We have to address that because the market's taking a look at it. You guys have done very well. Pick up like 2x overnight. So everyone's talking about it. So why don't we just start with the beginning? What are you doing? What are you building with HOOKR?
Yeah, for sure. And then thank you to the community for such showing so much love. We really appreciate it, of course. But yeah, so what we do with HOOKR is like originally we position ourselves as a token launchpad with the custom hooks, but we're really positioning ourselves as a hook launchpad that helps you create customizable markets. And this could be applied to new token launches or existing token launches. And actually, like our ultimate goal is to eventually integrate directly with maybe other launchpads, kind of provide them this ability to offer some kind of unique service by building their own like custom hook, you could say.
So the word of the day is hook, and this has been kind of I've had different Uniswap V4 projects on, and hooks are like that main topic, that main keyword that everyone's saying, but it's a very difficult concept for the majority of normies to understand. And on Late Night on Chain, not everyone understands it. So why don't we just start with that? What is this concept of hooks, and what does it exactly do for a project building with the hooks?
Yeah, for sure. And I think hooks have been around already for a little bit, but they have been I've been saying this, they've been like really underutilized. even though they have like hookathons and whatnot, I just think the utilization has been still very low. So a hook in general is something you could think of, something you attach to the liquidity pool that you're launching, and it could only be attached to a new liquidity pool. So you can't be attached to an existing liquidity pool that's already out there, right? And it simply dictates the rules of what happens before or after the swap. So you can essentially, code in, it's kind of like if this then that logic, and use essentially anything for if, it's anything that you could pull, that's kind of requirements. So people have been experimenting with even cool things like one project is building, you have to beat a game in order to perform a swap, right? So
Wow.
and one of the things we've been working on is like kind of agent only liquidity pools, you can say. So the hook itself checks if you have like an agent registered token, right, from the account that you're interacting with, and that way perhaps you could, through that hook, build up a reputation for that agent trading in that pool, and perhaps offer like fee discounts for those that are higher reputable agents, and then create more intent based kind of transactions that could allow you to use the liquidity in the pool a lot more efficiently. One of those things would be like leverage.
Interesting. So basically, hooks allow programmable rules that must be satisfied if then, and so really it's up to anyone's imagination of what's possible versus traditional LP pool is just like, hey, buy, sell. Here's a pool. And am I correct in assuming that this is now the next evolution of how trading can be?
Exactly. Because so far it's just kind of been these liquidity pools that have a curve, and people kind of tap into them for swaps, right? Then we had ranges where you could kind of provide liquidity in bands, and this is like, yeah, like definitely the something that really allows you to set up these programmable markets in like ways that you haven't been able to set up before. So one of the like I'm sure you probably use this as something like this, where like a hook is perhaps taking a dynamic fee, so it's kind of tracking the trading activity that happens, and the more trading activity that happens within the shorter time frame, the higher the fee is. So kind of the fee surges with the activity,
Ah.
right? So that's like one of the use cases that have been like already like utilized and tested out there, and like people have been using this, especially for like token launches with the creator fees that have like these dynamic fees.
So
And then
dynamic fees by general are through the V4.
yeah, exactly. So
Wow.
it's uh, one of the things that Clinker, if you remember Clinker Launchpad, that they were like
I
one of
remember very well. Yeah.
the original ones that kind of set this up, and we've actually built this tokenization tool. This like we helped you tokenize the creator fees. So all these fees that are getting accrued, they're basically claimable by just an EOA that you set up at launch. So what we did was we converted that EOA to a vol contract and then issued 100 tokens, which give you 100% claiming rights to those fees. And then basically anybody holding those tokens gets a claim on those fees proportionally.
So basically, okay. So yeah, and I know that dynamic thing. Shout out to the Clanker team. I know very well that that's a very attractive draw, especially for teams who want to launch. So right now that they currently don't have that ability to, but if they utilize V4 hooks, they're able to. So that's where you guys come in. So how does HOOKR work in the sense of like, okay, you're providing, I guess, the launch pad that allows people to launch using these customizable, if then statements, the V4 hooks. How does the hooker token play into this? How does because again, from my understanding, you're going to be that like marketplace that people come to, or that like launch pad per se to provide the tools. How does the hooker token work? Say hey Bill, I'm Bill. Hi, I want to do some custom ass cool stuff with your Uniswap V4 hooks. Walk me through it, sir. What's going to happen?
Yeah, so right now we allow you to, number one, create hooks, but we have a custom builder where you could kind of attach these parameters of such as dynamic fees or anti-snipe protection, or perhaps doing something automatically with the output from the fees, so kind of automatically converting it to a token and burning it, or anything else that you want to do. So you could create this custom hook and launch a new token with that hook attached, or use that hook because it's deployed, public. When you set up a new pool, you could attach that hook to the new pool that you're setting up, and that's the experience that we're working on to kind of enable through our UI. We think that's kind of like, like kind of supercharge your existing token offering, right? So you'll be able
Sure.
to do this for existing tokens. The one obviously issue is, again, you have to create a new liquidity pool
Provide it.
around that. So I feel like the teams that would be interested in this are probably the teams that have some kind of a treasury of their own token that
Sure.
they minted at launch, and they're looking to use, because most of the teams that are not selling it on market, they're looking to how to actively and efficiently utilize those tokens, and a lot of it is a lot of times for marketing. This could be a great kind of use case, setting up and galvanizing community around this new liquidity pool that you're setting up with this custom hook. So yeah.
What role does the HOOKR token play in some of these launches?
Yeah. So right now, we're actually working on, releasing a pretty big utility around the token, where essentially all the tokens that are launched through HOOKR's Launchpad, they'll be you'll have an option to pair them with ETH or the HOOKR token. And if you pair them with ETH, you will be paying, all the swaps will be paying a 0.3% protocol fee that automatically gets converted to HOOKR and burned. But if you launch with the HOOKR pair, you're going to pay no fees, right? So kind of like, incentivizing some of those HOOKR pairs, and the liquidity that people would lock up when they're launching with a HOOKR pair obviously would be, the same way as, in the traditional launch, it would be a locked LP. So that would create a lot of, potentially supply out of
Sure.
circulation this that way, right?
Sure. And if they choose to do the ETH fees, the 0.3% will still be used to buy and burn HOOKR. So either way, it seems like the HOOKR token will be instrumental in this type of launchpad. Let me ask you this.
And one other
Sure.
small thing I was gonna add on, and then of course, like these, so these we have like this hook marketplace. So when you
Mhm.
launch your own hook, if others utilize it, you make fees from that, and so does the protocol, like a small split with the creator, and that also would be auto converted and to burn and buy back more hooker tokens. And especially as we launch like things like our leverage hooks, which I'm super excited about, and that's what the community has been obviously very excited about as well. We'll talk about I guess, in a bit.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, with that segment, I mean, with those high words, sir, let's talk about leverage. Let's talk about leverage hooks. Why so many people excited, and what are you doing with that?
Well, it's our space is a speculative space, and obviously people are always looking to speculate more, and especially something like enabling leverage for tokens that are not traded on one of these big, platforms, right? So it's kind of allowing the project to set up the underlying backend for this whole lending and borrowing system for their token community without tapping into any of these centralized places that you need to get listed to to initiate that.
Interesting. Let me ask you this because this is interesting. So obviously, stock tokenization, bringing real world assets on chain is the driving force of where things are headed, especially on Robinhood. You know, we had liquidity providers that's working with Robinhood on, and basically they're going all in, especially stocks eventually all around the world. You're going to be able to buy Japanese stocks on chain. Everything's going that way. So my question to you is, if I'm a developer, where do you see opportunities to utilize V4 hooks to create a project that utilizes the RWA narrative, that whole, whether it sucks? Do you have any sort of, if you could put your imagination cap on, what would be cool to see, like, implemented using V4 and the tokenized stocks?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a topic that's popping up, and there's more and more liquidity pouring into the space from that side. Um, in terms of like utilizing V4 hooks around this is like the space is so essentially wide open. Like I first imagine people will be doing the same thing they're doing kind of with the tokens. But I definitely see maybe like perhaps the first few major use cases are definitely those that kind of help port over more and more liquidity uh, into like the tokenized asset space. So it's something where a hook perhaps through a swap, like uses the proceeds to add liquidity, more liquidity into
Sure.
into that tokenized asset, because that's what's happening right now, right? It's kind of getting ported over, and all these things they need to their own like liquidity pools and their own venues, and yeah, it's definitely an interesting time, and it's creating a lot of activity. Yeah.
Absolutely. So a few minutes left with you, but I'm curious to know. Obviously, you have experience on base. You've come from a wide range of things going on, but you chose to build Hooker on Robinhood. My question to you is, what is your thesis on Robinhood? Why did you choose to build Hooker on the green chain?
No, for sure. I think Robinhood has a strong focus on builders, and I wanted to align myself with Uniswap as well, right? So we were like, I wanted to launch like be one of the first launches on their launch pad, and that's kind of how we got like a lot of attention. So definitely, use the attention that Robinhood and Uniswap are getting, and there's a reason why Uniswap has launched their launchpad on Robinhood as well, right? So I think it's the space. It's the number one space that's onboarding, like you said, those tokenized assets, and all the retail is sitting there. So I think it's still there's still a lot of users that have the Robinhood essentially didn't tap into to port them over on chain. So I
Sure.
think it's only gonna keep rising, and it's good to be in the beginning of the wave.
Absolutely agree. I think building on Robinhood is a smart move. I mean, even for myself, we created a first ever media coin on in Robinhood late night on chain, and I chose
Yeah,
Robinhood
I
as
saw
well
that.
because yeah, and maybe there's opportunities for us to work together with our communities as well. We'll reach out separately, but I think Robinhood is kind of that chain that's going to dominate this cycle. Everyone base had their time. A lot of us from
Exactly.
that world thought Base would do what Robinhood's doing, the on ramps at Coinbase and this and that. But
Exactly.
for whatever reason, didn't work out. They're entering cycle two, and I still have massive respect for what they're doing. But Robinhood, I feel, is just as prime for that growth of through the Robinhood app. So I think you made the right move. Uh, Question to you before we wrap it up. The next, let's just say the next, because 2 to 3 months in crypto is truly like 2, 3 years in the real world.
Yeah.
What is the main focus? What are you locked in for the next 2 to 3 months? That's your blinders are on. This is what we're gonna do. Does the next 2 to 3 months look like for Hooker?
Yeah, 2 to 3 months. Definitely locked in on the integrations with the launch pads and launching these unique hooks that will make those launch pads stand out more. So, like the number one thing right now, obviously, there is those the leverage hooks that would allow you to essentially use the same liquidity from the pool to enable leverage on some portion of it, right? With some risk parameters. So if that's something that catches on, that's definitely going to be our winner. That like that would integrate everywhere and essentially attach to existing tokens as well. That would be a massive offering. Yeah.
Very cool, very cool. And right now, currently, the launchpad is live. So if I'm a developer, I could just come to your, or is it not?
Yeah,
Or
yeah. So like I said, like right now, you could create your custom hooks, deploy your hooks, attach them to, if you want to create like
sure,
pools on your
yeah,
own, or you can launch an instant token on Hooker. We're constantly kind of launching more blocks for hooks as well. So kind of like more features to add on there. And what we're actively working on as our leverage hooks that are getting audited is enabling you'll see in the UI is kind of like your launch path is, attach it to an existing token. So that's the, like I said, that's going to be something we really want to put attention on, because again, it makes us stand out from just a token launch pad, right? Like we want to be a hook launch pad that people use to supercharge their token offering.
Amazing. Well, my friend, this has been very interesting. I think, from my understanding, I don't even see anyone doing a tokenized launchpad with just. And I think a lot of people, once they understand the possibilities, I think it's going to spur a lot of innovation and creativity. And they're going to need to have infra to allow them to do that, because it's currently not on the market. So I think the future is bright for you. Any last
Exactly.
words,
We
my
want to incentivize the builders to create these hooks
friend?
and really, get the best return from them themselves as builders, as these kind of
For
fun
sure. And it sparks innovation, sparks creativity, makes the trenches live. So it's truly a win-win. My friend, any last word you have for the audience tuning in?
I just want to say thank you again to the community for really showing us a lot of love recently. I'm doing my best to build something meaningful for you guys. So, you know, I will do my best from my side to kind of, you know, push the boundaries of these Uniswap hooks, and hopefully something meaningful comes out the other side for you guys.
Amazing, amazing. Well, with that, we could tell you're very trustworthy. It's great that you come on these shows. That does a lot for the community's perception of any dev. So obviously,
Thank you.
that is kudos to you for taking the time to come on, like my show, MCG. That's fantastic, and I think that's what more founders should do. Honestly, that's very, very important. So, my friend, thank you for coming on. We'll make sure we have a couple clips for you. We'll tag you. We'll send it. And dude, I look forward to seeing you just dominate this space.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
All right,
Thanks
brother.
for
Enjoy
having
the,
me.
enjoy the rest of your day.
Have a good
Cheers.
one.
All right. That are from HOOKR. Fascinating stuff, man. Fascinating stuff. If you're a builder, these dynamic fees are actually very interesting. If you're a builder, a lot of times, at the beginning of the launches, that's when you have the most volume. So why don't you be able to capture that volume? Clanker did it very well. Shout out to Jack and them. They allow that thing where it's dynamic, where if it's a certain portion, boom, you can get more fees. So if you're a developer, obviously, why don't you want to stack as much treasury as possible? So I think you're going to see a lot of implementations of that, and a custom launchpad with hooks just makes a lot of sense. Makes an absolute lot of sense, because there's so many people who want to utilize these hooks but have no idea how. Myself included. Like, I want to know how. So if I was building something and I wanted to use it, it seems like that is the opportunity to do so. All right, guys, listen, short stream today. That's it. Just want to make sure we had Nodar on. That's it, brevs. Tomorrow, no stream. Back on Monday. That's how we do it. Monday through Thursday, new PST. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm out.